everybody. Welcome to another episode of Family DynamiKs with a K. Hi, it's Liz Killmond.
Hello, it's Katherine.
And Ed.
And John.
And today we are so happy to have back our matriarch, our mother, Mary. Hello.
Hello.
She's joining us via Zoom because she is back east with her sister Therese, our Aunt Therese. Say hello to everybody.
Hi, everybody.
Awesome. It's so cool that we can do this via Zoom. I love this.
Yeah, Mom, you've been back east visiting your sister for a few weeks now, correct?
Since the end of March. Yeah.
Nice. We
Okay, so a
missed
long
you.
trip. Yeah, long trip.
Therese
Oh my
is-
gosh, Therese is making mean faces.
That is a long visit, which, by traveling back east, it makes, it can be a little arduous. So it's nice to make the extra time to be able to stay and visit. So
But I do want to mention it's a perfect parallel to the stories that you told us of your grandmother and her sisters living and visiting with. There you go. You're doing the same thing. I love it.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Because what we've talked about on previous podcasts is, Mom, your trek out west. Really, we
didn't get very far
It's been so
yet.
layered. We've barely we're still not to you being married, much less any of us coming along. So this has all been the history with your family. So what we kind of want to get into, because there is an age difference between you and your sister. We have mentioned before there were 5 siblings in your family. And Therese, where do you fall, for our listeners that do not know, in the Couture family?
I am not the baby. I am a twin, and my brother is 4 minutes younger than I am. So he's the baby.
I did always wonder about that because you were not identical twins. You're what they call fraternal.
Mm-hmm.
And were fraternal twins anywhere, or twins anywhere in the Couture or your mother's background? Or was it a total surprise?
Yes, it was a total surprise, especially to Mother. They didn't have sonograms in that day. And so finally they did figure it out almost toward the end. And Mother had been really trying not to gain too much weight, and she was having no luck. And so they told her it was twins. So she went right out and had a hot fudge sundae.
That sounds about right. Yeah, how would they have even determined that then? The 2 heartbeats, or just listening?
Yeah.
And also
Or 4 kicks.
4 kicks.
And 2 heads.
Yeah, this is when the baby started to move, it's a very odd-shaped child.
Yeah.
What was the age difference between because there's already 3 siblings, so this was what
7 years later.
Okay, so that had to be, really kind of surprising, not only to have another child 7 years later, but then to have twins.
That's not true, because we had a brother in between. So he's only 4.5 years older than I am. Then Mary, who is 7 years.
Right. So the gap between you two is 7 years, but there was a child in between. Got it.
Yeah.
Now, you were born back east.
Yes, all of us were. Yeah.
Okay, so it wasn't until the 2 of you came along that they said, we're heading out west. How old were you when that happened, Aunt Therese?
We were 3.
Oh, gosh. So do you
3.
even remember living back east, really?
No, I don't. No.
Okay.
No memories of my grandparents, aunts, uncles, nothing. Yeah. What a shocker that must have been. Because this place is swarming with them. We were ripped from the nest.
Oh, wow.
Actually, ripped from the nest. You mentioned nest. One of the things my mom brought up is that on the road trip across the United States, one of you had a canary that you decided
It was Joseph, yeah.
Joseph.
What? Just let's throw the canary in the caravan. This is insane sounding. But, so yeah, you wouldn't have had any memories. And back then, there's barely a car seat containing you in the car, taking you back east. Yeah.
Oh, no. Yeah, no. Yeah, there wasn't.
And how is it, as a fraternal twin, your daughter, our cousin, has had twins, but no one in our family has had twins. So it's an interesting, still, I think, a birth phenomenon still.
Right. We were sort of a curiosity.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was 1 to 90 births was on average a twin.
1 in 90? That can't be the right statistic.
Yeah.
It's weird because it feels so much more common now that there's twins and multiples and all sorts of different combinations
also
because of fertility treatments.
Right. I was going to say fertility treatments, a lot of times women have more or choose to have more than one child at once because of all those issues. But I didn't know natural was a 1 in 90 chance. Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah. It gets exponential when it goes to 3 and 4 and 5 and 6.
Well,
triplets that were born when I was a little girl. In Canada. And that was just, now it's not that big a deal.
But actually that's a famous case actually in Canada where they almost got taken from the parents and put into what was almost, I don't want to say a human zoo, but they were experimented on and their parents didn't even have them custody of them anymore because it was such a rarity.
Wow.
But luckily, Therese, you and your brother you were not that much of an anomaly.
You weren't that rare.
You weren't that rare. You were able to stay with your family.
Just a surprise to your mom. That's the main thing.
Oh, my gosh. So, Mom, you being 7 years older, I mean, do you remember them being born? I mean, from all your stories, you were very independent in your youth. So were you helpful with your brother and sister?
Can you believe that my mother let me take them to the park?
Oh, yes. You told us this. But I thought that was like at 10. I thought that was at like 10, Mom.
9 or 10.
9 or 10. Okay.
Oh, my gosh.
Well, because they had to be old enough to go. So they must have been at least 2 and something.
Yeah, 2 probably.
Oh, so
well, in the previous podcast, we got all the way to you got out to California and you moved into the house in Pacific Palisades. Therese, do you remember the house in Pacific Palisades? Okay, because you were there.
One of the longest places we ever lived. I think we lived there 6 years.
Oh, well, then she would have been old enough to remember that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
it was very impressive.
Yeah.
So
I actually remember being in a room, and this must have been shortly after we moved out there. Richard and I were in separate cribs, and we used to climb over into each other's crib.
Oh, geez.
I'm sure you did. They were not just double trouble. My mother said you couldn't even believe what they could get into together.
Yeah, you did tell a little bit of the background on the two of them being very mischievous and taking apart chairs and, up to all sorts of shenanigans.
Yeah. Well, one Christmas Eve, they swallowed who knows how much baby aspirin.
Oh. What? Oh, no.
They had to go to the hospital and have their stomachs pumped. We didn't get to do anything about Christmas until it was nighttime.
Goodness.
Oh, gosh. It was terrible.
You ruined Christmas, Therese.
And the famous story of that
she knew it was going to be a headache, so she was trying to get ahead of it.
Oh, yeah, perfect.
The famous story from that was Richard had a stomach pump first, and then they were going to do Therese, and she was carrying on. And he says, "Don't cry, little Therese. Don't cry, little Therese." He was
Don't cry, little honey.
Little honey. Oh, that's sweet.
Yeah.
He was very protective of her always.
Aww.
Now, then, when you got to California, I mean, did you have the image of our Nana has not exactly been a hands-on mother, but I mean, that maybe we're giving us the wrong depiction, Mom. But was there, did you have nannies? I mean, did she have help with these two little rascals?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. We had live-in maid for several years.
Oh. Over and over again, we had live-in maids.
And then Mary became old enough to become the live-in maid.
Oh, that sounds great. Oh, perfect, Mom. Yeah.
Yeah, great. Good training.
Is that well? What do you mean by that? Is that accurate? Would your mom actually have you do chores and all those type of things?
Yeah, I had to do. We lived in a house. That first house had 5 bathrooms. I had to clean them all before I could do anything on Saturday. And my mother would come in. She'd say, "You didn't polish the faucets." And I'm like, "What?"
Jeez.
Oh, well, listen, our childhood
standard was crazy.
Well, the standard wasn't quite as high in our household, but we did have similar chores on the weekend. And if we wanted to leave or to go do something, you did inherit that rule. We had to get it done.
Yeah. I mean, at least it was more distributed. Like, you had to clean one bathroom, not 5 or one. Yeah. Or vacuum.
5 bathrooms. And they were, they were full bathrooms. Like,
oh, geez.
Oh,
I don't even remember whether they had one off the master bedroom. They had one in the maids' quarters. After we stopped having maids, then that counted.
Yeah, I would think the maid would be like, "What are you doing in here?"
Upstairs. There was one in the hall downstairs. So it was 5 bathrooms anyway. So it was crazy.
You lived in that house for 6 years. So Therese, when did you guys, so it was around 9 or 10 years old, you guys moved again?
Yes, Dad and Mom, we had property next door. A vacant lot. And
it was not a vacant lot. As you really want to know, it had It was completely lawn. There was a house, a bird aviary house.
Oh, yeah. You mentioned the aviary because, of course, we were like, oh, the poor canary could have gone.
Flowers, and it was just gorgeous. And they had put a pool in.
Yeah. First they put a pool in, and then they had a house built, and we moved next door. And
so that was the first move, the move to the house next door.
Yeah. Which sold for $2 million about 15, 20 years ago. It was something.
So did that house have the pool?
Yes.
Yeah.
Which you said was like almost the community pool. Did you gate the entire property then to separate yourself from the neighbors?
There was a wall around it. Yep.
Oh,
there
how
was a wall
interesting.
around the property anyway. Yep.
So he sold the main house and moved right next door so you could see the old house you were living in?
Yeah, pretty much.
Oh my gosh, that's kind of crazy. Nothing surprises me with our Grampy, but I mean that's an interesting take of way to utilize the land. Okay, but they didn't have a pool next door, right? So they got to look over the wall and be envious of the pool that he built. And
well, they couldn't see anything because the house was built against the back fence.
Oh, okay.
Like it was on the corner. And so the house was right across there where their driveway was. So it was just the back of the house that they could see.
And now going to school, because Mom, you had arrived then at the age of almost 10. Did you guys start a Catholic school education right away?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, it wasn't a big deal in those days. You could get in, the reason it got so impacted out here as you guys came along was they were busing and people were going to the Catholic schools to avoid busing.
Yeah, for those of you who don't know.
They became less Catholic.
Yeah, in California, in especially LA Unified School District.
Was that like the 70s? When was that exactly?
For sure in the 70s and maybe early 80s. They would bus kids in from different districts into neighborhoods to go to different public schools. And there was a big political hoopla about it. And so a lot of parents pulled their kids out of public school and put them in private schools. So they just, it was
and I think it was less,
to try to.
I was going to say, I think it was less about the kids being bussed in and the.
No, it was their kid being bussed out.
Their kid being bussed out, and they would have to be on a bus for 45 minutes or an hour in the morning going to.
And then they'd be someplace they didn't want them to be.
Or separately, even just too far away for them to be,
after school activities, so on
or
and so
close
forth.
to home if they needed to pick them up or whatever.
Because the way LA is laid out, I mean, it's a huge
very sprawling
suburbs. Is the public school supposed to be walking distance from your home? Right. And that's where you get assigned to go. So all of a sudden, you'd have to go extra early and get bussed out of the neighborhood. So, we experienced that. The Killmond clan has always gone to Catholic grade school. So even my son still currently goes to the one we all went to. But so what school did you go to? Was it St. Monica's?
Corpus Christi up in the Palisades.
Oh, I wonder if does it still exist?
Oh, yeah.
The parish does. I don't know if the school does.
Okay.
And we walked.
Yeah, exactly. How nice. And so then...
the really amazing thing was the twins went 2 years to kindergarten, and they had Sister Miguel, right?
Yes.
And then you, Katherine, had Sister Miguel for first grade.
Yeah.
And, she was part of my history.
That is amazing.
Is she still alive?
At 96, yes.
Oh God, that's the rumor about nuns. I mean, because they don't get married, they don't have children, yet their stress levels like lower, so they live a really long time. Some nuns.
They're the longest living population there is statistically.
Wait, what? Really?
Nuns are the longest lived population in the United States.
Now let's just get
it's in the name, right? Of all the things that could go wrong, most of them, none.
None. Oh my God.
Go wrong.
None of this, none of that.
Okay, wait. Then let's clear up a family rumor theory or conspiracy theory, Mom. And Therese can give us some background on this. Mom, we really thought you either always wanted to be a nun, or even after Dad died, you were going to try to bail on us and become a nun. Any truth to that rumor?
Therese doesn't know, I don't think. You do?
Yes.
Well, you're allowed to speak. Go ahead.
I want to know. We clear it up. What's the truth?
Well, I think it was always a fantasy for Mary, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I actually applied to some convents and monasteries when I was young. Yeah.
You did?
Oh,
Yeah.
Therese? Wow.
that's surprising to me.
Yeah.
I did also apply they were Holy Name Sisters in my high school. So I applied there and they said, I think you should wait a year. So that was the end of that.
I mean, you literally are Sound of Music, except for like you just had your own children. It's adopting them. So wait, Therese, you applied as well? How old were you when you applied?
I was, I think, 17 or 18. I was ready to go.
Really?
And I wanted to be in the Poor Clares in Santa Barbara.
Oh my Lord.
Yeah.
And what happened?
Well, they answered back and said that they wanted me to go to college first.
Oh, which is logical, but then in some ways life takes over because that's a long time to come.
Right.
So, and were you, because what I find interesting is, you know, both of you come to California at very young ages, raised here, and then, you know, you as mothers and, you know, you are on both coasts. Our mother has stayed here, West Coast, and Therese, I want to know a little bit like when you left, because did you have were you married here? We want to know about your East Coast journey.
Wait, before we even get to that, I just want to talk really quickly about, so there's a big age difference. Were you ever in school together? So even in grade school, there's such a big gap. Were you, Mom, in school with Therese when she was in kindergarten at the same school, or never in the same school at the same time? Because obviously then high school and stuff, you're separated.
I don't think I was, because when I came out here, I was
you were ahead.
Grade. I was 6th grade, and they were 3.
Yeah, you were super ahead.
Then it was just 2 more years, and then they might have come to kindergarten. The first year when I was in 8th grade, I don't remember.
Yeah. Well, when we moved to Santa Monica, I was in 3rd grade. So Mary might have been in high school.
Mm-hmm.
What was the move to Santa Monica? So then you've taken over the lot next door in Pacific Palisades. Mm-hmm. How long did you stay in that house for?
Not that long.
That was the second house, the one that you guys built. Not that long.
Dad had some business reversals in that he was a national sales manager for this company, and when he came there, they were living in Venice, which was horrible in those days. And they were manufacturing in Venice. Mm-hmm. And Dad started selling this product of theirs. And they ended up on Palos Verdes with yachts, both of them.
The owners of the company.
They sold the company, making no provision for him. And the guy came in and put his son in that position.
Oh, no.
And they went bankrupt. You know, he just didn't know what the hell he was doing. And in the meantime, Dad was just like, you're out. You know?
Oh, whoa. Okay.
They only built the second house because of that. And then things went on too long. And so they sold that house for a big profit. And we lived in a little house
in Santa Monica
on 14th Street. It really was a nice house. It's probably worth tons of money now.
I drove through Santa Monica on like Texas or Arizona across 14th Street. So I probably drove within a quarter mile of that house that you grew up in without knowing that for like 2 years.
Right.
Every day.
Oh, how funny.
Wow. Yeah. So if he then, you know, as you said, a reversal of fortune, he is now having to sell the second house in Pacific Palisades, even for a profit, and move to Santa Monica. What was he then doing if he got kind of, we always say foisted out of the company?
Phased out.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Mom had a cousin out here. That was the only relative we had. And, you know, they were highly inconvenient. We really didn't get together with them much or anything. But the husband of Mom's cousin was an inventor.
An inventor?
An inventor, among other things. But he was an inventor. He was a really nice guy. They got along very well. And he invented the pool sweep.
What?
No, they didn't patent it correctly. They got out of his hands, and you know, and I can't remember what else. The revolving restaurant was one of their ideas, and that got away from them. They
just spun out of control.
Oh no, Ed! Jeez, the revolving restaurant spun out of control. Okay,
and so I don't know if there was something else. So they were, you know, playing around. What are we going to do? What are we going to do? You know, and eventually he bought the cafeteria, and I was 16.
Well, wait. The inventor, you're saying
That's
father
the
go
husband of the cousin, right?
Yeah, but did he go to work? Did he go to work for him, your father?
No. But later, when they bought the big beef, he was a partner.
Okay, so how does he tie into what's happening at the cafeteria, or why was he mentioned?
How did your dad even buy?
That was before Dad got into the cafeteria.
Yeah, how did he even do that?
Sweep and
he was involved. Oh, yeah. He was involved with all those inventions, helping.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So then a couple billionaire businesses passing by. Great. Okay. Boy, we could have really had a different history, everybody. Okay. So now he buys the cafeteria. Now, we always know he liked to cook, but that's
a big jump.
It was so hard. I mean, he was in there really early in the morning, and it went all day into the evening. I don't think we closed till 7.
Right.
Is that right? Yeah.
And we had a chef, we had a baker, we had
Dishwasher.
a dishwasher. Well, right. And then a sort of not a manager, but he did a lot of different things in the kitchen area. Mm-hmm. And then we had a line of people that turned out the food when people came in, the customers came in.
Now, what was it? Was it called 7 C's?
C''S.
Right. Listen, we like branding too. So that's the 7 Couture. So 7 C's, because there's 7 of you. Just like Family DynamiKs with a K. Yes.
I did not know
Lean
that.
into it, people. Yes.
Well, I didn't know that it was the 7 C's, the letter C, ''S. I thought it was C like the ocean, because it was in Santa Monica.
Yes, a double entendre.
Well, I don't know. A double meaning, not a double entendre.
Well, I mean, technically, how do you get 7 C's?
A seaside town.
Yeah.
It was a great title for Santa Monica.
For sure.
Now, where were you? Where was it located in Santa Monica?
4th Street.
4th Street?
And
Right on. First block off Wilshire.
4th and Wilshire. Wow. You're right there. Yeah, because
but back in the day, what else was out there? It's not quite as built out as it is now, I think.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
And when you said it would only be open till 7 o'clock, I would have thought it heavily leaned on dinner. So what time would he open?
They serve dinner, entrees, starting when they open. They started at 11 or 11:30.
11:30, I think.
11:30 to 7. It was plenty.
Wow.
Then you had the older crowd,
getting dinner
retirees.
early. Yeah.
And they'd come in, they'd have this big meal at lunchtime, and they'd take, half their stuff home.
Yeah.
And he had a prime rib dinner that was it $1.95?
No, it's $3.95.
$3.95 for prime rib, potatoes, vegetable, salad, and dessert.
Wow. Now, so Mom, you definitely worked there. Therese, what was your involvement with the cafeteria?
She started at 9.
I bussed tables. I graduated from that. I helped your mom in the coffee shop, and then I ran the coffee station. I ran the salad station one summer, a couple of summers.
I mean,
this is crazy.
Hot coffee. I mean, there had to be child labor laws as a 9-year-old.
Right.
But regardless.
The law was your child needs to do some labor.
Yeah.
But
if they're your children, it doesn't apply.
But you don't mean...
and they took full advantage of that.
For the coffee shop, you mean that kind of breakfast counter, cooking eggs and everything else, right?
Right in the front. Right in the front. You came in and you'd come in the front door, and then you turn right, and there was this a banister so that you could make a line up to the food. And sometimes we were that busy that we had people waiting way back there.
Yeah.
But on the other side, if you turned left, they opened up that part of the room, and they put in a lunch counter and a cold box, and that's it. So you had to run to get the coffee in the back. You had to, go to wipe up things in the back. I mean,
what do you mean by cold box? Is that another word for refrigerator?
But with a glass front, so that
you can see what's in there.
Okay.
The sodas and the milk and
the pies. That was below the stuff that was, what you were going to use. But what they might buy was up above,
right,
where they could see it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I don't know if I ever knew that was the technical term for it. Now, your father did not have any restaurant experience before this, correct?
No. He had tons.
What?
A patron.
As a man, number one, he loved to cook.
That's my favorite. Wait, Mom. That is what I love about it. Wait. Okay, go ahead.
So he goes on the road for weeks, and he's eating out every meal. He went back into the kitchens. He talked to chefs. I mean, he had done more research than probably anybody in that business.
Yeah. Your mom is a lot like Dad.
Oh,
my dad.
Oh yeah,
we are fully aware of the whirling dervish of a personality we've dealt with our whole lives. But I just love the dynamic you two just had. When I asked that question, they said no, and my mom said yes, and went into this
In terms of experience.
But I was asking, like, real, like he had run or had worked at a
Managed
restaurant.
or-
Listen, because as children, we were there at the very embarrassing times when he would, decide to go back into the kitchen, tell them how they should have made this or should have done this or they should add this to the menu. Oy, oy, oy. As a kid, that was
he always had just the personality of like he was going to go into the fire and just wing it. I mean, isn't there some story where he was on a trip and he had told somebody that like he had tried to get a better room or a reservation because he was a doctor, and then he gets seated with another doctor and he's like, didn't he say something
wait. Yeah, what is that story?
Yeah, go, Mom.
Do you remember the story?
Well, it was, he came in for a show because this was a automotive product. And so they had a show in town and there was something else going on. So there were no rooms. And he called the hotel and he said, I'm Dr. Couture and I'm just here to make a consult for one night, which was bullshit. Anyway, and so they said, okay, we'd be glad to take care of you, Dr. Couture. So then he comes and he's really worn out. And so he decides to eat in the restaurant in their dining room because he always stayed in nice places. So he was all alone at a table. They were really busy. They said, would you mind if we seated Dr. So-and-so with you? Oh, no, that's fine. So at this point, hearing the story, I'm going, ooh, that doesn't sound good. And so the guy comes up to the table. Hi, my name's Joe. So the other guy just tells him his first name. And he says, let's not talk shop.
No doctor talk, yeah.
No medical talk.
Oh my God. So it doesn't surprise me that he'd never worked in a restaurant or whatever, but he was like, he could do it. I know enough about it. I can do it.
So I always thought for some reason the cafeteria and the counter were two separate places. So that's a revelation that it was all within the same building. So before they started the 11:30, dinner service for the senior citizens, there was a breakfast counter. What time would that open?
7.
Oh, yay.
And so the people working, for instance, in the banks next door or other, areas, they would come in for their breakfast before they went to work.
And Mom, didn't you say you actually worked it, like cooked the eggs and everything?
One morning we went in and it's kind of slow. So Dad decided to go downtown to pick up some produce or whatever. And so he leaves and there were 42 customers and I was it.
Oh my gosh.
So really, and it was like I had to cook, I had to bust the dishes, I had to, clean off the tables, I had to, cashier. Oh, it was nuts.
So were you telling people would walk up and say, like, I'd like 2 over easies and it's like,
no, they sat down at the tables in the rest of the restaurant.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't open. All the tables were available.
Yeah.
So they just kept coming in.
Yeah. And I'd help and I'd run around with a little pad and take their orders. Mary
oh my God.
And then I can remember one time that Mary was probably taking a break or going to the bathroom or whatever. And I think I was 12 years old.
Oh my Lord.
Somebody ordered a Western omelet, and I had to cook it.
The nerve! I mean, first of all, the nerve. You're a 12-year-old cooking.
Exactly.
Like, how's your eggs? I'd like a Denver omelet.
I'd like you to leave. Well, what?
I mean, I would be so afraid that I was going to get salmonella from the tag team of the two of you.
That's just an entirely different era. I don't know who's walking into that restaurant, but if I see a 12-year-old and an 18-year-old, and that's it, I'm probably not ordering complicated things.
Oh no!
However,
the 42 customers, there was a band of people that were together on a tourist trip, and all of them had full breakfasts. And they left no tip.
Oh, well, you guys.
But they left their sunglasses, so I'm ready to give them their sunglasses.
You should have kept them and sold them. But I mean,
or stamped on them. I was so annoyed.
But that's
anyway. And then other people would come in, and there were people that came in at lunchtime, so the coffee counter didn't close.
Yeah.
It went on until 3:00 or something. So guys would come in from the bank and they'd order stuff. And one day I had a meat cutter down there. So I was cutting something. I cut the top of my finger off, just not really terrible. You've never noticed, but just like the soft part on the side.
Oh no.
And the doctor said, fine, I won't treat you if you're still working. And it wouldn't heal. So I got a vacation that year. That was the only one I remembered having.
Speaking of vacation, so when were you doing this? I mean, you obviously went to school. So was it weekends and holidays and summer?
And after school and all summers, from the day you finished finals till you started. It was terrible. And he paid me, I don't know.
Oh, he did pay you? I'm actually shocked he paid you.
Yeah, but then I had to pay for my college.
Oh,
geez. It was crazy. I have to tell you this story about Trace. I don't think you've ever heard it, but
great.
Don't even stop me if you did have.
Feel free to join in, Trace.
Yeah, it was about you.
9 years old. We bought her a Nehru jacket, so she looked like she had some kind of uniform.
Now, wait, for those of you who don't know what a Nehru is, think of Star Trek. Okay, go on.
Yeah, like like no collar kind of.
Yeah. No, it has a stand-up collar.
Yeah, right.
And a button on the sleeves. Anyway,
okay.
So here she is, this darling, really cute.
I look like a Dr. Kildare female.
Child. Anyway, so these two ladies come in and work in the bank. And they come in every morning and they have a sweet roll and coffee and they are chain smokers. So they come in, we take care of them. They had so much coffee usually that, probably we lost money on them. Anyway, so they're over there having their coffee in one of the tables and Trace goes over and one of them says, "This plate was dirty when I got it." Now, they've been there half an hour. This is the first thing we heard of it. And Trace said, "Oh, I don't think so. Maybe you got some ashes on it when you were smoking." I wasn't smoking. And the ashtray in the middle of the table was just mounded, And so there was some little back and forth. And then Trace says, "Well, I know it was clean when I gave it to you because I licked it."
Oh, gosh.
Trace, I've actually heard that story before, but I've never heard from you if that's true.
It does sound familiar and definitely like something I would say.
Yeah, definitely.
Because I was going to say, somewhat of the stories we hear of you, because we were actually raised here in the West, and you were back East, has been a bit of a smart ass or smart aleck, which, we've
only gotten a little bit of.
We only get little tastes of it, which is we all love. Because what's funny is it must run in our blood, but our mother does not, and neither did our father, like sarcasm. And yet we all have a gift for it. So it comes from somewhere, right? Or, well, I mean, I'll say for myself, and you've curbed my talent for years, Mother.
Oh.
See? So then, all right. So now you both are working in the restaurant. Mom, you're going to go off to college.
Wait, where did you go to high school?
Oh, right. Yeah.
Mom.
St. Monica's, both of us did.
Yeah. St. Monica's.
Where's St. Monica's? Because I know, I was
Monica.
pretty sure of that, St. Monica's. I'm pretty sure that was the place. I've driven by that plenty of times in Santa Monica.
Yeah, on Arizona and 7th.
Yeah.
Now, was that all girls or boys?
It was when I went in there.
Oh.
And eventually, I don't know when they went, it was called co-institutional. So that some of the classes would be taught for the boys and maybe it would be a mixed class in the girls' building. And some of the classes would be taught in the boys' building with some boys there. Yeah. It was kind of crazy. And there was like a gutter down the middle of the interior. They have a whole city block.
Yeah, huge block. And it was originally girls, but they added a boys' high school. Oh. It was run by the Brothers of St. Patrick, and then they had their house on part of the block as well. And they have gradually integrated the classes.
Yeah, when I was there, you weren't supposed to cross over the line that went down the gutter in the middle of the property.
Oh. What would have happened? You would have
gotten stand on either side and talk to each other.
You would have gotten pregnant immediately. Like, what was the fear? I mean, what is so crazy? Was your brother Joseph at the Brothers School?
No. He got a full scholarship.
Yeah, he was at Loyola. Yeah.
Oh, Loyola. That's right.
He took the bus from Santa Monica.
Wow.
Okay, so then, Therese, when you were there, were you co-ed with your brother twin, Richard?
No. The first year, I think the boys stayed in their own side of the alley. Mm-hmm. And then gradually we'd go over there, and I had biology in the boys' building, and the boys would come over and they'd do art or something.
But did Richard go to that brother school?
Yeah.
Oh, that's
Tell
cool.
a great story about the play. This is so awesome. Oh, I remember it. You want me to tell it?
Sure, start.
Okay, so Therese never did drama or music or anything.
Not professionally.
She just was her own person and did her own thing. So she decided to try out for the senior play.
Yeah, because Richard had been in a couple of plays as a junior. And also, I think he did a musical when he was a junior and then one when he was a senior.
I mean, did you always wait, Mom, because he had a beautiful singing voice, your brother?
Oh,
and did you
fabulous.
Yeah, did anybody else in the family sing? I mean, Mom, you sing, but I mean, like, really get up and
Mother sang. And actually, she was a professional.
Yeah,
as
we
a young
talked
woman.
almost vaudeville days.
The sister act.
Yeah, her sister act. We
So
could
then,
do that.
when did you
We could have a stand-up comedy act for seniors.
actually?
I would pay to see that.
Okay, wait.
Absolutely.
So when did you know?
So
Richard
anyway, so Therese decides to try out for the play, and she got the lead, the female lead. Can you imagine those girls who had been slaving away since they were freshmen?
Therese, I was a thespian. I would have been so pissed off at you.
Oh yeah. Wait,
All
what
4 years.
play? Do we know what play?
Talk about a thespian. It was Jean-Louis Antigone
What? Holy
in
moly.
the round.
Oh my God.
And the boy leader was Richard. And they had a romantic
Wait,
thing
no.
going.
What?
Oh,
my
the senior
God.
class was they couldn't wait to go.
Who was the casting director?
That's
what
diabolical.
The hell?
Hopefully
Wait,
not a
what?
priest or a nun doing this casting misunderstanding. No, this will be fine.
Oh my! Wait a minute. So, all right, there's one of another genre. They know I like. I'm not going to say the genre I like because Mom will roll her eyes. But one of the other genres that I love, and John definitely knows about me, anything to do with high school theater and drama. I love it, or community theater.
When
level.
it's represented in like a TV show or a
God,
movie,
I love
she
it.
can't.
So
look
just
away. Loved it.
how did this roll out that you two are basically
Cast across from each other? Yeah.
Can I also interject? At the ages that you're separated, Mom, you are married at this point? When she's a senior in high school? You're 6 years apart, right?
Well, yeah, I got married right after college. So, yeah, I must have been married.
And or at least Dad knows, and maybe he went to this play. Anyways, I just want to put some context and timing. Yes, exactly. I wasn't sure that detail would make it in there, but
so
now we go.
now you and Richard are cast in the lead
Opposite each
roles,
other.
opposite each other. Yeah. Opening night. What happened?
It was a Greek tragedy.
It sounds like one. I mean...
Well, we did have a kissing scene. And
what? What? That makes no sense.
Why would they do that?
That was a little creepy, but you know.
Why would they do that to you?
Oh my God.
That's insane.
There's so many directions I go right now, but I'm going to be respectful. But this is totally insane-o. So now, is this the first time your parents and every scene they have to watch it live unfold in front of them?
Well, and the seniors are carrying on like insane people, you know. So you can take it seriously. You know,
it was a very serious play.
Yeah.
Oh my! Well,
and I got the Bank of America Drama Award for that.
Oh wow!
Therese!
Thank you for never having been in a play before.
They couldn't believe what you were willing to do.
Oh,
okay,
stop,
Therese. Do you know who the recipient at my high school senior year of the me?
Woo! It's a legacy.
I got the same award, the Bank of America Drama Award, my senior year.
Amazing.
And I did not have to make out with my brother to get it.
Nice.
Just kidding. Oh my gosh.
I did not get that award. Yeah.
And Mom, how could you not remember that lineage, that legacy being carried on when I got it?
And so it's both you and Dad in the audience?
Yeah. So Dad and you both went to this play and watched Aunt Therese. Did Dad say anything afterwards? Like,
Well, it wasn't a surprise. We knew that was going to happen.
Well,
we knew that the seniors were all primed for opening night.
Oh my God.
And they were just going to hoot and holler, and they did. And, you know, it was pretty funny, actually.
And it
sort of ruined the tragedy part.
Well, yeah. Makes the tragedy a little less poignant.
And then, Therese, you did not want to continue your acting career after that, or what happened?
I mean, when you hit it out of the park like that, why keep going?
I know. I actually did want to, but, you know, Dad said that it was not a good way of life.
Well, and then nursing wasn't either.
Yeah. And then I told him I wanted to go in the Army, and he wouldn't allow that. So I went to work for the phone company.
So wait a minute. You were maybe going to become a nun. The acting got squashed.
Yeah.
You couldn't become a nurse. This is crazy.
Couldn't
That was
join the
not a
army.
consideration.
and
And
army.
didn't go back to the cafeteria.
Well, yeah. So, and then when I took a test for the phone company, and so they told me my benefits and stuff like that. And I remember coming home and telling Dad, because he wanted me to work at the cafeteria, and I told him how much I was going to be making, and his eyes bugged out. And then he said, "Okay, well, I guess you can work there, and your room and board will now be."
Oh no!
Did he really?
Yeah.
Oh my God!
Well, you
Probably
weren't
a
going to be
third of my
contributing to
pay.
the bottom line. But if you're not working at the family store, then you got to make up the difference somehow.
No free
Yeah.
ride. So
God.
you did not then. So
Wait, did you go to college? Did I miss that part?
No.
No,
you
got
went
it.
right into the work.
Because he said, "Why would I want to go to college? I'm just going to get married and have kids anyway." So.
Oh.
Which was more of that era, but still, you had a sister that went to college. Mom, you paid your own way, you said?
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting.
Well, the freshman year, my mom paid for me out of the household budget.
Ooh.
And she came up to visit, and she realized how much fun I was having, and I wasn't getting very good grades. So I came home and worked at the cafeteria and went to local school as a day hop, and I figured out finally that Dad made money on me.
What?
Because he paid me so little that was a big advantage to him.
For sure.
But the
Couldn't hire
worst
someone
part
else for that
was
rate.
when I did the counter in the front, they didn't leave tips because they thought, "Oh, she's daughter of the owner."
Oh, that's
Yeah.
You need a whole routine of but I pay my own ways through college. He's charging my other sister room and board. I mean, you need to
the
do a sob story.
Yeah.
Yeah, we could start out with that. What's that?
So then, wait a minute. So then you were kind of living together, through your college years, and Therese, and you would have been sort of a teenager. Were there any girls' nights out or anything like that?
Well, I'll tell you, I loved it when Mary went away to college because I had the room to myself, and it could be very neat. I liked that.
Oh, were you not
my
neat,
pension
Mom?
for having everything out that you need at all times.
Yeah.
Oh, were you a
They still have
mess?
that pension.
I didn't know that. No, I'm being serious. I don't really think of Mom, in her teenage years, but she was a slob, for lack of a better term.
Well, so she'd be going out on a date, and Richard and I would go out and sit in the car with her date to entertain him while Mary was getting ready.
Because
she was running late.
Wait, she was running late?
Even back
it was
then.
awful.
And the room would look like a bomb had hit it, because
geez.
she wasn't going to wear this outfit or that outfit, and just, it was chaos.
Oh my gosh.
That was terrible. Well, I mean, you can imagine. I worked until 7:30 or so. I would get home on a weekend night, and I couldn't go out on Friday because I had to go to work early in the morning. And then I worked late on Saturdays, and I had to be home at 11:30.
Wait, who were you dating? Where were you meeting these people that you were dating? I'm curious. Was it at school? Was it?
Yeah, mostly school. I mean, one of the boys brought a friend of his that everybody thought was the most gorgeous kid in the world. And he called me up and asked me for a date. And he lived Glendale was freshman year, and they weren't really dates.
Glendale?
I don't
What do you mean?
remember.
When did you move to Glendale?
Are you?
No,
No,
I didn't
it was a
move to
guy named Glenn Dale.
No, Glendale. I don't know how we got to meet each other in the first place, but we had this, torrid romance over the phone.
Oh, wait, for a second, I was really going to.
Someone from Glendale, a young man from Glendale.
That was the first one I remembered that just now. Oh yeah.
Oh,
What
I
was I
forgot
thinking?
about my youth indiscretions.
Guy from Glendale. Okay.
And then there was this guy, I think it was from San Bernardino. He would take the bus out to Cliffwood, where we lived. That was crazy.
Cliffwood. Is that the name of the street that you lived on?
Yeah, Cliffwood in Brentwood.
I ran on Cliffwood many times when I was living in Brentwood.
Eddie
Yeah.
has run past all your
I
childhood.
run all the
haunts.
way through those areas, all the way down to the beach on San Vicente. So yeah, I hit Cliffwood a couple times.
So you moved out of
Cliffview.
Santa Monica, and now you're in Brentwood. What age did you
when
guys
was
move to
that?
Brentwood?
We had two houses in Santa Monica. So the really small house where the 3 boys lived in the guest house.
What?
Interestingly, yeah.
Separately from the.
Yes.
Yeah, it was in the back of the lot. So
That makes so much sense. That made so much sense. Oh, you're loud. And boys, all
Just
of you can
put
live in the back
them
house.
outside. What?
yeah. And then Peter, Mom and Dad and Trace and I lived in the house. I think it only had 2 bedrooms.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Oh, wow.
Really a small house.
Right. And then Dad decided that he was going to rent out the guest room, and then everybody had to move into the house.
Oh, God.
It was terrible. But then things picked up a little bit, and he bought a house on 23rd Street, which was much bigger and quite nice. And his sister and her husband came out for a visit with their dog, and they decided to buy a house together while my aunt, his sister, and Mom were in Hawaii. Wait, they came home and they had this house in escrow on Cliffwood.
Oh, wow.
Who decided to buy a house together? If your mom and her sister were away, your dad and who decided to buy a house together?
Mom and Dad's sister went to Hawaii. So her husband and Dad decided to sell the 23rd Street house, which I really liked, and moved to Brentwood.
Bigger house, huge
Which is,
house.
if anyone's tracking, they were on Pacific Palisades, which is ocean approximate. It's maybe a half a mile to 14th Street, which is about a mile and a half to 23rd Street, you said, right? Which is a little bit further inland, closer to the 405 and Wilshire. Now Brentwood at Cliff is further in than that. They just keep moving further inland.
Yeah. But it felt close to the beach.
I mean,
Oh,
you're
it's still super close. Yeah,
for sure.
So just your family lived in the house in Brentwood, though? There wasn't anybody else living with you?
Well, as it turned out, they had a falling out, and my aunt and uncle left with their dog, and we had that whole house to ourselves.
Were they going to live in it with you guys? Was that the
Yeah.
plan? They bought it together, meaning they were going to live with you.
Right.
And then that didn't work out.
And we needed this bigger property because they were going to live with us.
Oh, my goodness. Uh-huh.
And so anyway, I walked into that house after they had bought it, and I looked around and I said, what a great house to get married in.
Oh, that's the house where you got married. Uh-huh.
It was fabulous. It was really fabulous.
I mean, it's worthy of Bob Willoughby's taking photographs there, right?
Yeah, there's a very famous photograph of your two great aunts. Is that who it is?
Yeah. Well, no, a great
One
aunt,
great aunt.
and her friend.
And her friend.
Oh, great aunt and her friend.
And her companion.
Oh, her companion.
She was quite a bit older by then. Yeah, and Bob Willoughby did take those pictures. That's right.
Well, you say her companion as if they were a couple.
Yeah,
no.
it did sound like that a little bit.
Oh, it was taking care of her. I think she was younger.
A little bit of a caregiver role.
Yeah,
is what you're
exactly. That was the idea.
So were you then going to college out of that house, Mom? Or living there when you were going to college? Oh, okay. So, I mean, you made it sound like it was, really inconvenient, but you're living in Brentwood, for goodness sake.
And you were going
I went to Mount St. Mary's. I was just I could have walked.
You could have walked.
Yeah.
And Therese, when you said that, you got to have her room when she was away at college, did you have to share a room before that?
Yes. Yeah.
Almost
And
always,
after,
I think.
I went for a year. Yeah.
With your brother?
No, with Mom.
me.
Mom and Therese.
I don't know
shared a
why,
room.
because I thought twins and the age difference. Okay, so you always had to share a room with your big sister. Now that is a dynamic.
Like a Ginny Liz dynamic.
Exactly. I did that with our youngest sister, Virginia. And she, the little business entrepreneur, master's in business that she has, I was also a slob, did very much the same type of thing.
Lord, she was awful.
How dare you? I obviously inherited it from you. I obviously inherited it from you.
So amazing, the kind of house you keep now.
But okay, so
Yes, you used to stuff things under the bed, above you, in the
it was
bunk bed.
quicker to
because
put
you
it
didn't
away
want to
that
put
way.
them away.
Yeah.
Decoration.
And I would pay
No,
for
not really.
I would pay Virginia an allowance to keep our room clean weekly because it drove her so crazy that I just pay her. I'm like, if this is driving you this crazy, I'll pay you $10 a week to keep the room clean.
$10. That's good money.
And then I think I upped it if it included laundry. But yes, I would be entrepreneurial to go earn the money to not have to do it. Okay, so that's a very similar dynamic to my younger sister as well. Virginia, I think, was relieved when I would be out of the way because it was total chaos. But so I want to go forward a little bit. So now, Therese, you're graduating and you've been told you can't do all these options, but you're going to work for the phone company.
Right.
And then how?
Well, in the meantime, we moved back to Santa Monica.
What? Okay, so now so Mom, we'll do your marriage and all that
that's
another
right.
time, Mom.
Yeah,
we'll have
we'll
you
go
back
down
on
that
a
road,
podcast.
for
We
sure.
still have to pick up your story, but I want to continue with Therese. So now your family sold the house in Brentwood and you've gone back to Santa Monica. What house was this in Santa Monica?
Oh, it was gorgeous.
Pacific Avenue, And it
Ed,
was,
did you run there?
Always.
new
Did you run along
construction.
all
there?
over.
I want a
Ew.
map and I just want to put X's, all the
Right.
places that your houses were. I mean, it's
Yeah.
crazy. This is so many houses.
We
Right.
would never
And then-
realize, but he was making a happy face with all the signs.
I mean, who knows?
Right. And then we moved to Ocean Park, and I think it was Santa Monica still, but that was Wellesley Drive near the Santa Monica Airport.
too. Mar Vista.
Mar Vista, yes.
We lived in Mar Vista, and they lived in Santa Monica, which was above 26th Street, maybe 23rd, I don't know, but all the way south, like at the extreme edge of Santa Monica.
Yeah.
And you could look over the bluff. He used to decorate the back of the house because it could be seen for miles.
Yeah.
Oh,
And you could
Christmas time?
see,
Yeah.
Pacific Palisades. Palos Verdes from there.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I mean, it was fabulous. It was
Yeah.
quite
Well, he
lovely.
always, it's interesting, as you said, Ed, they were moved further away from the ocean, but now we're maybe moving back. And Seven Seas, you thought was related to Seven
I
Seas.
absolutely thought it
But
was seas.
You're,
The ocean.
I had a memory because I was just on a boat recently.
Right.
Your father had a boat or
Yes.
boats?
Yes. He had
Yeah.
a boat. Yeah.
And where did he
And
dock
that-
that out of? And what was
It
that?
docked in the marina, and this was really before the marina became as
Posh.
huge as it is now.
You just mean Marina Del Rey?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And so he'd take it out in the afternoon, and
He'd go to sleep and put it on automatic pilot.
What?
sort of aim for what?
That
San
seems
Francisco or
insane.
something?
What are you
I have any
talking?
idea, but he did. He just
okay.
go to sleep.
And what kind of boat was this?
It was an old fishing trawler, like
No, it wasn't. It was a converted. No, it wasn't. It was a military boat. What do they call them?
What?
The mending crafts.
A pontoon? What?
No, a
Not a
skiff?
pontoon. It looked more like a fishing boat, and it had been repurposed from. It was bought from some marine.
Did it have sleeping quarters and a kitchen?
Yeah,
What?
yeah.
I mean, how long did he have the boat for?
years. Yeah.
Oh, wow. That is very fascinating.
I
So
don't know,
now,
between the boat and the violin, we're missing out on some classic couture elements.
yes. All right. So then, Therese, now you are working for the phone company. How long did you work for the phone company?
I worked there like almost 5 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I worked there until Nicole was born, my second child.
Oh, so you then had your oldest was born here in California?
Two of my oldest kids were born in Torrance, California.
Oh, wow.
I don't think I ever knew that out of your 5 children. I always, for some reason,
I thought you
just put
moved
you back, east.
earlier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, yeah. I remember one time Therese got sick. And so Jack, her husband, called Frank and he talked to Frank. And Frank said, "Oh, bring them over," because she was sick. And I was sick. So I had 6 kids under the age of 5,
Well, Dad probably loved it.
I'm on the sofa. I couldn't move. I was so off. I was so sick. I remember that. That was a nightmare.
But that's going almost all the way back to being, that's what sisters, you two living in close proximity, you could do.
yeah.
What then, Therese, what made you move back east? And was that, that had to be such a change because you had no memory of living there as a child.
Yeah.
Right. Well, so I was married. We were expecting our 3rd child, and it was time to buy a house.
Oh.
Because we lived in an apartment. We lived one apartment. We moved next door, and then we had a 2-bedroom apartment. So the thought was that we would come back east where his brothers were living and would all live together in a compound type, Kennedy compound type of thing. And would, share a lawnmower and, washer, dryer, et cetera. So we moved back and they said, well, we weren't serious.
Oh, my
Oh,
God.
no. What?
So now we're living with his parents for 6 months who were active alcoholics.
Oh, no.
And you're pregnant with your 3rd child.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And had the baby there.
Oh,
So-
what?
Yeah. So then at one point, it's like, Jack, you either find a place for us to live or, I may murder myself.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, but that'd be so hard because no one, but your parents were still on the
Right.
West Coast.
Yeah, they were still here in California.
that
Yeah.
had to be so hard on you then to because were you that involved with, was your husband at the time's family? I mean,
No, not at all. No.
Oh, God, that must have been so isolating to have your third child and just feel like, where'd everybody go?
Yeah, no support.
Yeah.
I mean,
And the whole time I'm pissed at her because she got to move back east, and I had wanted to ever since we'd moved out there to California.
why you wanted to move back, Mom?
I didn't like the architecture. I didn't like the air. I didn't like how the
Trees look.
trees looked. I didn't like going hiking. It didn't smell right. It was, what was this crazy place?
But you married a guy that wanted to be an actor in Hollywood. So you really
that was
made
the end of that.
you were doing counterintuitive things, lady. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
For what it's worth, I mean, if you're not going to like California, Pacific Palisades and Santa Monica,
Right.
then move out. Forget it. You hit the
those are
top
the
tier.
best.
There's no hope.
Only Santa Barbara.
And then
Oh,
so
yeah.
now
I almost bought a house in Santa Barbara,
Well,
but
that
he
would've been
didn't
great.
want to be away from our family.
Yeah, that's right.
And Frank didn't want to be away from our family. So we turned down this deal on this house in Montecito.
what? Why are you telling us
No.
this? Ay,
And,
ay, ay.
and then they moved to Oceanside. So it's
Mom and Dad, moved down to.
We could have had such a different
Well, because your mom and dad weren't they in like Van Nuys or Burbank? Where were they
Yeah.
before they
And
moved to Oceanside? Yeah, which was
No, they moved to Oceanside first and then back to Van Nuys.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Chandler, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Ran past that.
I mean, if I would love to sit down and figure out how many houses they lived in
Well, I will
before they left California. I mean,
Yeah.
They tried them all.
I figured-
They tried all the houses.
Yeah. In my life, I figured they moved every 2 years.
yeah,
Well,
on average.
I
Yeah.
would say even as a child hearing that, it did sound fascinating and exciting. But then as an adult, 2 cents worth of psychology here. It sounds manic. I mean, it sounds like so
It was.
unsettling to a kid to
Why do
constantly
you
be
think
changing.
I stayed in a house for 50 years? I hated it.
Yeah.
So you hated
Great
moving.
fun.
Oh, there you go.
The irony is you never liked the house that you've been in for 50 years, but still, you're like, I'll just stay here. That's fine.
It's crazy.
Well, I remember thinking this is not what I had in mind. And we made an offer that was a little bit above the asking price, which nobody did in those days. And so we got it. And they had 5 other offers the next day.
Oh.
So obviously that was meant to be. And I didn't like it. I didn't like the way it was laid out and stuff. I like Eastern houses with doors that close and you have a room, rather than that open court kind of thing downstairs. And then about 3 or 4 days after we'd been living there, I thought, this is a good house for kids.
Oh.
Well, you also
yeah.
relieved there was no pool because California
Oh,
laws, no one gated their pool back then, and sadly, you had known a couple people that had a tragic result.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
now, Teresa, you were back east. You had your third child. You said we better move out of your parents' house. I'm losing my mind. When you had fraternal twins.
No.
What?
No. One of her daughters had fraternal twins. Therese did not have twins.
Wait a minute. I have always thought Christian and Danielle were twins.
No. That's hilarious.
I love Christian. We're both Libras. Like, I've hung out with him enough over the last 20 years. I should know. Are you kidding me? They are not twins? Well, obviously they're not.
2 years apart.
Oh my God, that's hilarious.
But they do read as troublemakers and could have been twins.
Oh, yeah. And they look like, they were,
the day, with that saying, like, the day you found out your cousins
I was
were not
this
twins.
many. I was today
this
years
day
old. Yeah, I was today years old when I found out.
I think because you guys, and that goes to speak to us being on the West Coast and you guys being on the East Coast, and us not being able to like grow up together.
right, yeah.
I may not have been paying attention. All of a sudden, there were 2 more kids, and I just thought they came at the same time. Oh my
That could have been
gosh!
it.
Okay, so then you had 2 more children who were not twins.
Right.
So
right,
5. You have 5 kids.
Right.
Oh my gosh! And then your famous house in Norwood. That's where all of us got to go.
That was where we visited.
That's where we
Yeah.
visited.
There were a
which
couple
is outside
road
of Boston.
trips that we visited like as a big family, and then separately a lot of us came, I think after 8th grade, multiple kids.
Did you
had
two
a
make the 8th
separate
grade trip, or was that already changed? Or
I definitely didn't get the same 8th grade trip. I got a whole bunch of East Coast visits where I got to go to Aunt Judy and Uncle Joe and see you guys. And I had a Game Boy, so I don't know how much I was paying attention to you.
Okay.
Tetris a lot, though. I played a lot of Tetris.
A lot of Tetris in those locations.
Really,
Yes.
we got the one big trip.
Yeah.
Which when Mom went to Ireland, and then we were on the East Coast, right?
Yeah.
What?
Right,
Oh, I didn't even realize that is that what
Some
happened?
combo joint travel of like, well, we can't leave you in the house if I'm going to Ireland. So you can go to my sisters. Bye.
Yeah, let's go.
Oh, I didn't realize that's how that went
They
down.
stayed with Mom and Dad. Did they stay with you?
I don't remember. It's all a blur. More kids, what the hell?
Yes. Just add it on. No, I remember coming to visit in my 8th grade year, and it was during the 1984 Olympics. So that were in Los Angeles, and they sent me out of Los Angeles.
Oh, no.
It was so irritating. I think I got to partake in one or two elements that were happening here. But the real bonus was your kids were really gifted at working the McDonald's, and it was basically like you would tear off little type of basically coupons on the drinks that if you matched up, you got free things because of the Olympics. I mean, I ate McDonald's for like a week straight. I've never
Nice.
recovered because it was constantly, I got a free fry. I just worked a free fish fillet. Oh my God, we get a cheeseburger. Oh, we got a soda. It was insane.
Oh my gosh.
But I mean, so I have very clear memories of that. And the last time I think all of us were in that house was when Nana died.
Oh yeah. Well, we came back for. Did we come back for a visit?
Oh, someone's
And
wedding. Nicole's wedding.
I think we might have
yeah.
visited for
Yeah.
Nicole's wedding, but then did we? I can't now. I'm the wrong one because my memory is like terrible. But I went back for a wedding, and I think we saw Nana then, and then I'm trying to remember if we went back for her funeral or
Yes, we did for sure. But we might no.
I don't
Both
know if
houses,
I did.
Norwood.
I
Yep,
can't
yep.
remember.
So then, all right. So I think we've come up on an hour. Our mother and Aunt Therese are back east, so we have a time difference, and so we don't want to keep them up too late because it's supposed to have a big trip you're doing tomorrow.
Yeah, what are you doing tomorrow?
Sure. We're going to New York because Judy and Joe and Christine proposed that they would come up and meet us for lunch in New York.
Oh my
that's
gosh,
exciting.
take so many pictures.
And that
And then-
is
And then we're going to have dinner with Marie.
Oh, wow.
That's awesome.
A full East Coast visit.
And that is Judy and Joe. Judy is our father's younger sister, and
Her husband Joe.
Joe, who have probably been married 60 years, probably at this point.
Yeah, probably.
Probably.
Now prep them because they're going to need to come on the podcast. So you tell
jeez.
them they're up next.
And then our cousin Christine, who does listen to this podcast, and then will text me like, "That was an outrageous story," or "That sounded absurd." I'm like, yep. And they were also back east. Like we've said, we were the California cousins. And so we did not, unfortunately, get surrounded by tons of cousins. So as we've gotten older, we're trying to make up for lost time and solve some of these mysteries. And one of them got solved. They both wanted to be nuns.
I never knew that. I never, ever heard about it.
All right. Well,
I
you
was married by then and, busier than a bee.
Well, you have
Oh,
some
yeah.
catching up to do, and we have only gotten the tip of the iceberg with you, Therese. We're going to
Right.
have you back on, and maybe
Right.
you'll come on with one of your daughters, or
That'd be great. One of our cousins.
yeah, and we'll get some
And
more scoop.
I do want to add that my kids loved your visits.
Oh.
They looked forward to it. They looked up to you. They were so intrigued. They
well,
loved it.
it's
Well,
not.
on that same thing, I came back at this particular time because the cousin who lived with us, I thought was my big sister, turned 90 in April. And so we went to her party. There were about 90 people there. She said she didn't even have any friends. It was all just relatives.
Oh, wow.
And from our dad's side, she said there was no one there from her father's side. Anyway, and one of the stories she told me today when she called was that she said, "Look over there, that's your cousin from Hollywood," because that's what they think. If you live out
Oh,
in
that
California.
you are the Hollywood cousin?
Yeah. And the guy said, "Really? Is that them? Is that the mother of the boy that's on the cornflakes box? I still have that box."
Oh, my God.
Okay, wait a minute. What was that cousin's
Send
name?
us a
Mom,
picture of that, whoever that is.
That lived with you. What was the name of that cousin that lived with you?
Joni.
Joni. And didn't her daughter
Joni.
come live with us for a summer?
Yes.
Yes, that's a
She
whole.
was a nanny. She was a nanny for a baseball player.
What?
Okay, well,
Yeah.
that's because that's a whole other thing we can get into. It wasn't like the inn was not already very full. We had people
we had
live
a
with
lot
us.
of
It was insane.
people come and stay.
But I will say, when you say the Hollywood cousins, there's the famous story of when, Therese, you came out right after our father died, like the day after his funeral.
Yeah.
And you brought your two youngest, who I thought were twins. I was wrong. And they were here. Because the funeral had just happened, so they were here
That
for vacation.
day. Yeah.
They kind of were here for vacation. Their mindset was different, so they kept coming into my room, going, "We want to go to Hollywood. We want to go to Hollywood. Where's Hollywood? We want to go over the hill to Hollywood." That's my bad Boston accent, and so I finally looked at Rose. I go, "Yeah, let's take him to Hollywood." And I think I was dating Mark at the time. We got in the car, and now if you go into Hollywood, you really do kind of go over a hill and come down, and you can see Hollywood.
The Cahuenga Pass.
Yeah, but they don't know that. So
Right.
I just go over a small hill that's right here in the San Fernando Valley, and I take him to Denny's, which is
No. You took him to
Johnny Rockets.
Mel's Diner, which is a very fancy looking Mel's Diner. And there's totally one at Hollywood and Highland, like right there. So
Right.
it's sold. It's
All right,
sold
so
the store.
I did elevate. I took it beyond
Oh, yeah.
the Denny's. I went to Mel's
You were
Diner.
selling it. You were selling the
And
bit.
as we're sitting there, all Christian and could say is your son, "Well, we can see Michael Jackson." And I'm like, maybe, you never know. And it was like,
Actually, that's really close to his family house.
Right.
Surprisingly.
Weirdly. So I said, "You never know." And it was about 2 years later that I forgot it was Danielle, your daughter, basically cornered me somewhere. And she goes, "Hey, I figured it out. You didn't take us into Hollywood."
You're a liar.
Like, "You're a liar." I go,
That was
You're a
wicked.
liar and you're a loser.
"You're a liar and a loser."
And you're wicked.
Yeah, you're wicked. Oh my
That
gosh.
was a wicked trick.
Yeah, it was a wicked trick, but it worked. So there you go. So we are the California cousins, but we were so honored to have you, Aunt Therese. And like we said, we have to have you back because there's a lot more.
Yeah, I feel like we only got so far. There's so much more that we want.
Oh, yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
awesome. Okay, so Mom and Therese have an awesome time in New
Thank you.
York.
Thank you.
And find out stories or cross-check. And yes, we'd like to have them on the podcast as well. We got to get Dad's side going here. So there you go. So everybody, thank you for joining us for this episode of Family Dynamics. Please follow us on all of our social, which is at Family Dynamics with a K.
And also we have a Patreon, so you can become a patron.
And remember to subscribe, like, leave comments. We'd love to hear from you.
Yep. So Mom and Therese, thank you for being in this episode.
You're welcome.
This has been Family Dynamics. Thank you for listening.